for a change?
I am talking to you.
Then get ready to explore the quantum possibilities. It's time to transform that outdated paradigm into something universal and new. Time to uncover the truth hidden beneath the veil of lies. A time to think outside the box as we link to a higher consciousness. Welcome to the awakening. And now the hosts of Broadcast Team Alpha, Nori Love and Augie Nost.
Well, hello, galactic gazers. So anybody who's looking at the Lion's Gate would know a little bit of what that means. But it's Tuesday night. Hey, everybody. I am so excited. Oh, and Pixie's excited too. I am so excited for our guest tonight. And do you remember last week I was talking behind Sheriff Mack's back? So just remember all of the amazing things that I said about him last night, because I don't even want to take up too much time so we can just get to the conversation with Sheriff Mack. But I do want to invite you guys to connect with us. You can connect with us at some really cool experiences we're sharing at the Mastermind Connection. If you want to know what the Mastermind Connection is, just send us an email to themastermindconnection@gmail.com. And of course, you can connect with us on our website, Broadcast Team Alpha. And of course, there's, if you check out Broadcast Team Alpha's YouTube channel, you'll see some rare footage of Augie and I, like 150 years ago. Well, maybe not that long. But anyway, we do want you to connect with us. And we're so grateful that you're here tonight. And thank you for the donations. Thank you for the contribution of just sharing your focus here tonight. Tonight, we're talking about something that is really, really important. It's really important, especially with all of the things that are going on and changing so quickly in the world. So, Augie, will you please tell us about our amazing guest?
Oh, yes, I will. And absolutely. Our subject tonight will be probably more relevant now than it was 20 minutes ago, because things are expanding on us really fast. We are having Sheriff Richard Mack with us.
Yay! Oh,
and I have known Sheriff Mack since the early part of the 1990s. I drove through Arizona one time on vacation, and we had heard about this sheriff in Safford, Arizona, the one that was trying to actually apply the Constitution to his office at the same time as being a sheriff. And knowing a little bit about law, I wasn't totally sure on how that could work. So we stopped into his office in Safford. And by golly, he took the time to sit down and talk with us for well over an hour, talking about freedom and what was going on in the country at the time. And it was wonderful. And now, after I came to Arizona, I've had the pleasure of talking with him privately and interview him on the radio before and TV. He is one of the few sheriffs who had the courage to stand up to the power-hungry, overreaching federal government and tell them, I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America and not to the federal statutes. And in my county, I am the last word. Those were really courageous words. When the federal government, almost 3 decades ago now, wanted to take your guns away, he sued them. Took it all the way to the Supreme Court and won. Now that we want to hear about, because he's also created a national organization of like-minded thinking sheriffs who value and protect people's rights. And I can think of nobody better to talk about freedom and what the office of the sheriff will mean except for Sheriff Richard Mack. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Sheriff Mack.
Yes. Wow. That was one of the most unique introductions I've ever had, Augie. Not too many people that interview me actually came to my office while I was sheriff. In fact, you're the only one so far.
Wow.
Oh, wonderful. Well,
so Sheriff Mack, before we go deep, I just have to recognize you, because when Augie was saying that, you sued the government, I mean, you did that under the Clinton administration, and you're still here to talk with us. So I am just like so celebrating that.
That's one of my lines, I guess, one of my jokes that I tell at all my speeches, that, hey, I sued the Clintons and I lived to tell about it. So
seriously,
truth is always a great joke.
Yes,
and that is definitely a truth. I really think, I don't know how they would have got rid of me, but I really think they would have gotten rid of me, either got me out of office or got me ostracized, or worse, financially ruined me, which, well, they did that later.
right.
But if it hadn't been for the other 6 or 7 sheriffs joining the lawsuit, I think it would have happened. But gratefully, we had seven total sheriffs out of 3,100 that did this lawsuit. And so this is one of the other key components of history.
Wow.
It doesn't take a majority to change America. It 7 of us did it, and only 2 of us ended up at the Supreme Court, and that was Prince and yours truly.
Right. Wow. And so let's back up a little bit, because this is very new to me, and that book that I mentioned, They Fired the First Shot, has really been an eye-opening experience for me. And I didn't really know, about sheriffs and how you don't answer to the government, you answer to the people, and and then the special sheriffs, who are the constitutional sheriffs. So can you just, for others who don't know, could you just like do the beginning, pave that road for us?
Well, yeah, there's a question that every American who has been abused by government has asked themselves. And this is a quote from Jefferson, and it's on the first page of my book, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope, which is available at my website. But this whole thing, it goes like this: when all government shall be drawn to Washington as the center of all power, it will render powerless the checks provided and become as venal and oppressive as the government from which we separate. Whoa. End quote. See, that even gets your dog excited.
Seriously.
And this is the key to this. When government becomes venal and oppressive, did anybody that you've ever known that was abused by government, like Augie has been, what do you do? Who can you turn to for peace, safety, liberty, protection, and any kind of help without somebody saying, well, you got to get a lawyer?
Right.
Why should I have to get a lawyer when I didn't do anything wrong and I don't have the money? Who on the planet can fight the IRS? Who can fight the IRS?
Right. Or Sheriff Mack, when you get punished because you do the right thing. I mean, as a registered nurse, I saw a trend when I was doing utilization review, where that looks at all of the payments that go to hospitals and doctors, and there was a trend that was really bizarre, and I ended up tracking the trend, and then nobody would support me in the corporation I was working for. They're like, well, if you're gonna tell somebody, if you're gonna go to what's it called? My goodness, the part of the company that receives the complaints.
Human resources? Well,
it wasn't human resources. It was the part of the corporation that receives complaints like that have to do with fraud. Oh. So I it'll come to me. I'm having a senior moment. So I went ahead and I presented all of my data to them, and Sheriff Mack, my world turned upside down, because I was questioning a hospital. Hey, Pixie, I was questioning a hospital that has, deep roots, and suddenly I became targeted at my job. And not only that, but really weird things started happening to me in my outside world, like people following me. And so you're trained to do the right thing. Then you get penalized by government for doing the right thing, and you have nobody to turn to.
See, that's the key. And so if you were to start to look around and you go, well, you know what? I'm going to go ask the city attorney or the county attorney, or I'm going to go ask my friend on the city council, or you know what? While I'm driving down there, oh, well, there's a sheriff's office, or there's a police station. Should I go ask a police officer what I should do if I'm being abused, if my rights are being violated? Who can I talk to? And so you either have to find a lot of money to be able to defend yourself or to file a lawsuit against these people, or you go to your local sheriff and you say, you know what? I'm really tired of the FDA coming on my property and inspecting my farm. You know what? I'm really tired of the EPA telling me I can't build a home on my own land, and if I do, I'll go to jail. You know, I'm really tired of the IRS garnishing my wages, and I've never had a hearing, I've never had a trial, and yet they keep taking my money from me, and I've never done anything wrong. And so, like I said, who has the money to go against the IRS? I mean, they have thousands of lawyers. They have millions and millions of money. They can go. In fact, I had a friend this happened to. He used to own MCI Printing in Utah, and they went after him for over 20 years. 20 years.
Wow.
People came and went. They retired. They went on, and they just kept after him. And they went after him civilly, and they went after him criminally on the same exact issues and charges. And they totally ruined him. He lost his business. He lost everything he owned. And he ended up working as a dishwasher at a local IHOP. And then after that, a guy asked him to come and work construction. And 2 years later, he died. Wow. And you know what they said? He literally died of a broken heart. And this is exactly what the IRS did to him. Mm-hmm. They completely, he lost his desire to live.
Yes,
absolutely. And so we continue to put up with this, and we have organizations running around the country saying they want justice. We haven't had justice in America for a long time, and we certainly haven't had it from the IRS. And in the early 1940s, during World War II, heavyweight champion Joe Louis actually joined the Army, and he fought 2 prize fights, and he took the check and signed it over to the federal government, to the Army and Navy. And he said, I'm donating the entire prize money to my government to help win this war. Well, guess what that government did? They went after him for the taxes on both of those checks, even though they knew full well that he gave it to the federal government, which is tax deductible, obviously. And they charged him with all of the taxes. They completely ruined him. They took everything from him. Even when his mom died, he inherited $600 from her. They took that. They took all the money from his children that they had in the bank for college. And by the time he died, Mack Smellinger, who he fought from Germany for the title, one of the earliest title fights he had, he literally became a friend of Joe Louis, and he paid for his funeral. He had nothing. Wow. And yet we still allow this agency that is so ruthless, so cruel, and so criminal. And yet who does anything about it? And it's not just George Floyd where we've had injustices occurring in this country. So I'm so upset that we allow this kind of criminality to go along. And all these federal bureaucracies continue to create criminals. They don't discover them. They don't go out and do an investigation and say, this guy has committed a crime against us. No, they literally go out and make an innocent person a criminal. And that's where we're at in this country. And now even worse, because of COVID-19, we now have our rights suspended, our lives suspended, our liberties suspended, and our Constitution suspended.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you make of the COVID-19, Sheriff Mack? What are you thinking about it?
Well, first of all, I believe it's a legitimate disease. I don't care where it came from. It does make people sick, and it's there. I also know for a fact, if you just look at, any first grade law school student or any first grade academy student, cadet in the police academy, could tell you there's been so much contradicting information and statistical analyses fabricated or aggrandized. They try to make it look worse than it is. There's been lots of fear mongering. So you have to ask yourself, why would they lie? Why do they keep contradicting themselves? And why do they pander fear? What are they trying to get from me? And the only logical explanation is they're getting us ready for something worse, and they're getting us ready for forced vaccinations. That's one thesis, or maybe hypothetical. I don't think it's hypothetical, but they're just social engineering every one of us, and they're getting so many people so scared about this that those sheeple are getting mad at those of us who don't want to go along with all of this. And I'm not really into the efficacy of mass or the legitimacy of the disease. What I do know, without any hesitation, without any equivocation whatsoever, I'm 100% that no one in this country, no one in any government has any authority whatsoever to suspend our Constitution and to suspend our liberty, all in the name of trying to take care of us from this COVID. That does not exist. COVID might exist. In fact, I've said this numerous times. We do have a pandemic, but the pandemic that is so obvious that we have is the pandemic of corruption, and Washington, D.C. is the epicenter of that pandemic.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And
One
I think
one other thing while I'm on that topic, because I'm kind of on a roll here, and I'm going to just one more.
Go for it.
This is what no one in this country, I don't care who you are, I don't care where you're from, I don't care how ignorant or apathetic you are, no one should accept in this country that it's easier for somebody to go into a casino than it is for an average American to go to church. That is pathetic.
Yeah.
And that we can't agree that religious freedom is paramount and sacred, and that's one right that we would all agree on in this country. I don't care if you're an atheist. We should all agree that that's one right that we can never violate in this country. We can't even do that.
Yeah, and I think also we should look behind the curtain a little further, because what they're telling us is one thing, but we should also start to seek out the answer to what they're not telling us. When they contradict themselves as much as they do, even a really slow person like myself know there is something wrong somewhere, even if we don't know. I think the best way to do that is to just shut the TV off and go on the internet and get our news, and we will find some of those answers.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'll tell you where some of the answers are. On my website, there's a book, a little pocket-sized booklet of my Supreme Court case. I highlighted all the most important parts of the case. And I have some of them memorized. I got one, probably the most important part memorized I have for a long time. But it says this, and you would think, if you read this case, you would think a lot of this language was somebody who sued the federal government to stop what all other governments are doing to shut us down, to make us wear masks, and to disallow us legitimate church worship. And it goes like this. Now, tell me if you would love to see a Supreme Court decision that said something like this, quote, "But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions, end quote. Wouldn't that be amazing if everybody in this country understood that principle, that good intentions do not even come close to qualifying as legislation or any other program or dictatorial orders from self-appointed dictators in this country, or people who just love to act like Hitler because they love power so much, and their lust for power blinds them to principles of liberty. And so if the Constitution really does protect us from our own best intentions, then why are we doing all this crap? And then it even goes further. The Constitution divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution, now get this, to the crisis of the day, end quote. To the crisis of the day. It protects us from our own best intentions. It protects us from the crisis of the day. And if there was any time that we needed constitutional sheriffs to protect the people of this country, and specifically the people of their counties, from all enemies, both foreign and domestic, there has never been a time in our nation's history where we've needed constitutional peace officers and sheriffs more than we do now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And in fact, in a roundabout way, the Supreme Court has ruled somewhat to that effect. But Marbury versus Madison is one of them. And also there's another case that I just can't pull out of the top of my head here. And that says that the federal government has no authority in the states to regulate medicine. That's an old case from back in the 1960s, but it has never been overturned, and everybody's ignoring it.
Dr. Benjamin Rush actually said that back in 1785, 1780. Dr. Benjamin Rush, who signed the Declaration of Independence, he was a medical doctor. He said it way back then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, people don't know.
The federal government has far exceeded its constitutional authority numerous times, and the states have not done their job to put the federal government back in its proper lane.
Yeah. So, Sheriff Mack, if majority of the sheriffs were constitutional sheriffs, it seems to me that the government would become, I don't know, like an afterthought.
It's supposed to be an afterthought.
Exactly.
Let's hang on to that one because we got 30 seconds left to the break. And when we come back, now let's talk about that a little bit, Richard, and hang on to that thought that you just was about to come out with. Let's go to break.
This is the Broadcast Team Alpha Show, hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. The one show that takes your doubts of the unknown and spins them into reality. Share your thoughts by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More cutting-edge conversation and exploration of the quantum universe after this.
Every year around the world, thousands of golden retrievers are abused, abandoned, and neglected, and they need your help. Goldens Without Borders is a 501c3 not-for-profit company located in the heart of southern Nevada. They focus on golden retrievers in countries where neglect and mistreatment is of the worst imaginable. Even the smallest donations go a long way to saving a life and helping put these beautiful dogs into loving, forever homes. Come be a part of a network of people working hard to make the world a safer and more humane place for all living creatures. To make a donation, or if you're interested in adopting or fostering, please visit goldenswithoutborders.org. Goldens Without Borders. Help make a difference today.
One of the planet's most powerful antioxidant products is here for you to enjoy. Chaga mushroom tea. This tea has been used as a potent natural health solution for thousands of years. In fact, the Chinese call it king of the herbs. The health value alone is worth a look, as Chaga mushroom tea packs a punch with pure vitality and smooth energy. It's 100% wild crafted, safe, and effective. Get it now at arcticchaga.com. That's ARCTICCHAGA.com, or call 916-969-2678. That's 916-969-2678. Chaga Mushroom Tea. Chaga Mushroom Tea. Order your supply today.
Great. It's great. I think it's great.
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Great.
Make a note of it.
It's great.
Looking for intelligent talk? Then look no further. Expedition Truth. Expedition Truth. Hosted by Jack Ashcraft. Live on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. From spirituality and prophecies to philosophy, politics and science, and so much more, Expedition Truth is setting new standards for what intelligent talk radio should be. Jack explores all of the hot topics, as well as interviews some of the most respected academics and authors in their respective fields today. Expedition Truth. Live on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Intelligent talk for the discerning mind, because the truth never fears questions.
Going live.
Come explore the quantum possibilities. This is Broadcast Team Alpha. Broadcast Team Alpha. To be on the show live, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Share your thoughts of the show on Twitter at KCOR Radio, #KCOR. Or join the cutting edge conversation live in our chat room at KCORradio.com. Now back to Broadcast Team Alpha with your free thinking hosts, Nori Love and Augie Nast.
Hello. Welcome back, everybody. And you know, when we come back, I love to do a shout out to the chat room, and things are starting to liven up in here tonight. It's good, so good to see everybody. I don't see Margaret from Mind Your P's and Q's, but I'm going to send a shout out to them because they've been so faithful being here on Tuesdays. So I'd like to say hello to Condor, Doc Who? Iowa Girl, JC is here, John G. Hi, John. Karen is here, Kay is here, Lisa, Love is here, Marilyn is here, and the amazing Naj is here, Parked Cake, Rob, and if I can scroll down, I will see more of you. Sunny Fix is here, Travis Davidson, Yappy is here, hello guys, and that's all I see right now. So welcome everybody, and Augie and I just want to talk to you about this really fun adventure / experience we're doing on Sundays. It's called the Mastermind, and we join together and we use our intention by virtue of thought energy, right? We join our thought energy together for a purpose. It was the storm, right? Recently, the storm that was going to hit Florida, and it's just coming here right now, actually. And of course, we've intended for the COVID to change. And back in during the peak of the fires, we would intend for that. And we intend for personal good health and other people's good health. So we come together for a like reason, and we put our thought energy together in a forum that's like a guided imagery. And it is so powerful, and so many amazing things are happening there. And it happens Sunday at 2 p.m. East Coast time. So if you would like to know more about that, just email us at themastermindconnection@gmail.com. Augie, what else?
Oh, well, I really want to say just the mastermind is a phenomenal concept. It has been around under many different names, all the way from brainstorming until you name it. But I tell you, the mastermind is when two or more minds are united in harmony, they create a third mind that has the potential mind power of the two or more of them multiplied by each other. And it becomes very powerful. So come and join us on Sundays. I tell you, you're going to like it. So anyway, we want to get back to Sheriff Mack, and we had a question right before here about what would it be like if all the sheriffs actually did their job and protected us, sometimes from the federal government as well as others. What would it feel like to live in a society where we actually had a little freedom like that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you just gave the answer, freedom. It would. People would have their liberty restored immediately, because it would look like this. So one of my constituents comes in and says, "Hey, the IRS said they're coming to take my home in a few weeks." And so then I look at the case and I go to the U.S. Marshals or the U.S. Attorney's Office, or I call somebody at the IRS and I said, "Look, I'm the tax collector for the county. I cannot take people's homes when they owe a tax to the county. You will not take people's homes in my county."
Wow.
Those of you who think that taking somebody's home and kicking them to the street where they have no place to live, and then they have to get on all the government welfare programs, that's ridiculous. And then you go and sell their home and acting like you're doing some big thing. Well, you're not. And I'm going to tell you right now, random audits on anybody in my county, that is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. I don't care that you got permission from the Supreme Court. In this county, the Constitution will be enforced, and enforced strictly on everyone who comes within the jurisdictions of this county.
Wow.
So the jurisdictional boundaries are going to be protected by me. If you come into this county without checking with me, there's also going to be trouble. So, and none of this is creating an atmosphere of violence. What it is doing is creating a working relationship that both sides understand.
Yes.
And I'm not going to allow the federal government to act like they own my county and that they can, anytime they feel like it, violate the constitutional rights of my citizens with impunity and act like they're doing somebody some big favor, or they're just doing their jobs. Well, it's not going to be any Nuremberg excuse in my county as to why you abuse and victimize our citizens. And so that's the way it will look. The lack of abuse is the strengthening of liberty. And so how do we really define liberty? It's defined in several different ways, but I will define it this way. Liberty is defined by how much government leaves you alone. And then we have a right to be left alone. And one of the Supreme Court justices back in the 1920s actually quoted that in one particular case he was on. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name right now. I'll have to look it up later. But we do have a right to be left alone. If we're not hurting anyone else, then the government's position, or responsibility rather, is to protect my rights. And in fact, that's a quote right out of the Declaration of Independence, where it talks about the purpose of all government. The purpose of all government is, quote, to secure these rights. Governments are instituted among men. So that's their only responsibility, really, is to secure my God-given natural rights.
Right. Right.
So imagine that we had, and I'm telling you, we're not going to get all the sheriffs, okay? You're not going to get Los Angeles or San Francisco or Chicago or Miami or Detroit, New York City. You're not going to get those. But you are, and you can get numerous counties in every one of those states. And we have sheriffs in California doing it, and we have sheriffs in Nevada doing it. We have sheriffs in New York doing it. So
why wouldn't we get the ones from those states and locations you said?
Because they're just politicians going along with the political agenda. They don't care about this. There's a lot of people who really don't care about the Constitution. All they care about is winning, money, and a nice retirement.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And don't let the Constitution get in their way of that, okay?
Wow. So, Sheriff Mack, and I mean this in like with Christian love, I so fell in love with you last week when I was, watching some of your videos and some of
your show, and you fell in love with me?
Well, I was doing my homework by looking at your videos, and when you were going to quit, rather than not keep your oath, I just, there's not enough people out there anymore like you. And I just am so grateful for you. And that's when you decided, instead of, quitting your oath or quitting your job, or certainly, letting your wife down, that's when you went ahead and sued the government. And I mean, that's just, I'm so grateful for you that I just don't even have words.
Before I got to the Clintons to sue them, that happened about 5 years later. I first got converted to the Constitution by studying it really big time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I really studied it, and I was totally converted to it. I mean, it was a spiritual experience. It was definitely an epiphany for me. And I fell in love with the founding fathers.
Yeah.
Thank God for you. My goodness.
Yeah.
But
and
that's why I believe it can happen to a lot of people. And I just met over the phone today Officer Greg Anderson. You remember him?
No.
He's the one that did that video in his patrol car about how we should all be keeping.
Oh, yeah. We all saw that.
He's going to be CSPOA Peace Officer of the Year.
Yay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and he was thrilled to hear that. And boy, I'll tell you what. And let me tell you right now, speaking of that, we've got some big time training sessions coming up, and we really need some donations for it. And in about August 15th, I'll be doing some training in Washington State, helping some sheriffs there. Then on the 21st, I'll be in Mississippi, and we're trying to help some sheriffs there. And then on September 30th in Virginia, we're going to be training a lot of sheriffs all across the state of Virginia and up and down the eastern seaboard. And we really need some donations there. And let me tell you, if you could do anything right now to help save America, with a peaceful and effective solution that has the sheriffs doing just what we've been talking about, how much would you give to help that happen? Well, the Founding Fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Their lives, their fortunes, and sacred honor. Now, I would never ask anybody, we need your whole fortune. But I would ask this of everybody. Do what you can. Yes. Donate what you can. Spend the time you can. And then make a monthly donation or whatever. I shouldn't be the only one having to fund this movement. And there was a few years, I started this a little over 10 years ago, There was times where I did it completely on my own, and all the money I got from the book sales and speaking engagements and everything else just went right back into promote the agency or the organization, and I did it alone. And we never really raised enough money to do much. Now we need to raise some money to do a lot. And for you rich people out there, let me tell you what would be fantastic for us to do. First of all, we need to raise the money to actually train another 700 sheriffs in this country. And we want to hire some former sheriffs to actually do what I do, to where we can really make this fast. Because let me tell you, friends, if Biden gets into office, the constitutional sheriff is absolutely going to be your only hope.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you understand that? It's going to be your only hope.
A lot of people don't understand that.
No, they don't. But on the other hand, we need to get, besides getting those people trained, we want to get ads on every major network in this country, including on Rush Limbaugh, on Sean Hannity, on Tucker Carlson, or I don't care who else. Ads on yours. But we want to be on every, and not necessarily major networks. We want to make this a household name, and it's going to cost money to get that out there. I know. Look, I've already done a bunch of shows. Yours, SGTV, Doug Hagman, and lots of others. Charlene Bollinger, Sarah Westall, and those have really created a lot of interest. We need mainstream America to know about this, and we've got to get to them, and we've got to have everybody understand this, and it needs to happen right away. And so all of you can only guess how much that would cost, but the more we put into it, the faster the solution will take hold.
Absolutely. And while we're all around here now, just let them also know where they can find you and also participate in this, and as well as donations.
Well, that's a good way to put it, because your participation in this, if it doesn't happen, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking financially. I'm talking about you being involved in the solution. Mm-hmm. There is a solution. This is absolutely the most effective solution I have ever seen. And I'm not saying that because I invented it. I didn't invent it. All I did was raise some awareness of this, because the sheriff has always been in this country. He was the first law enforcement officer in this country. After the formation of our country, even before the formation of our country, there were sheriffs here. 3 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were former sheriffs. Bet you didn't know that.
Wow.
But everybody can do something. So, Augie, to answer your question, CSPOA. Every person listening right now can become a member of the CSPOA. It's a partnership with citizens and sheriffs and peace officers. And if they don't ever hear from you, if you're not involved in vetting your sheriff and local police agencies, this solution will die. Now, if you want to really make this thing kick into high gear, make some real serious donations and make them monthly. I have a doctor acquaintance that I met in Houston in February. He was so convinced this is it. He says, I will donate, and he says everybody needs to donate $17.76. So they'll donate $17.76 every month. And then he said, well, maybe you could make it $176.60. He donates $1,760 every month. 66. 1,766 every month. Yes. And so that's what he does every month. And then he found out that we were working on a project, and he said, no, that project, because we just did a bunch of videos and we needed to pay a videographer. He said, you're going to need more than that $17.76. I'm going to donate $2,500. And he's put his money where his mouth is, and it's been amazing, because we wouldn't be able to do all this if it hadn't been for him. And so, yes, we have people signing up. I had a lady who just signed up tonight, and she's from England. She lives here. She's living here now, but she has the most beautiful English accent. She thinks everything's lovely. And She donated $500 today.
Nice.
And so, you know what? People are doing what they can. And again, you don't have to give your fortune. Give what you can. And I'm asking everybody on here to do just that.
I love that.
Do you still have your posse going?
Well, the CSPOA posse is what we call our citizen members.
Okay.
And so what we want you to do is that you become a posse member of the CSPOA, and then we want you to go talk to your sheriff, ask him if he's going to be a constitutional sheriff, ask him a few other things about what he would do to protect you from forced vaccinations, ask him a few other things. Will you protect me from the IRS crimes? And some of the scenarios that I just gave you about that. And then ask him if he'll form a posse and that you would like to volunteer to be part of it. He goes, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want a bunch of guys running around with guns. No, Sheriff, the posse does exactly what you want them to, and they only do what you say. And they're available at a moment's notice. They're a team of Minutemen, and women too. And they can be trained just as much or as little as you say. And they can be called out just as much or as little as you say. And to have an emergency team that is available for communications and for traffic control and to go check on people during times of crisis and bad weather, of course that's what a posse does. And mostly they're there to help in any emergency that you need to use them for. And so that one is also a vital part of this process.
Yeah, actually, I know men and women both are doing the posse program because my housemate Belle here, she is carrying the gold posse shield that you put out here. I think she got it about 10 years ago from you.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm glad she got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, for people now that want to join you here and participate in this, tell them a little bit about maybe your activities coming up to, and also maybe where they can go and maybe on YouTube and watch some of your videos, and of course watch this again. Talk a little bit about what you do that way.
We just started the Sheriff Mack Constitution course. The first class was Saturday. The second class will be this weekend. We're going to start it again for this week, so you can start at the beginning. But I'm doing training for citizens right now so that you know and understand every facet of this, that you understand the law. We go over my epiphany that you brought up earlier, Nori, about how I was converted to the Constitution, how I didn't write that lady the ticket. And I'm telling you what, that is a very touching story for me. It's hard for me to really repeat that story without getting a little bit choked up. And I've probably talked that story and referenced that story 1,000 times in my life. But it was such a spiritual experience for me. But we'll train on how I became a constitutional sheriff, what happened to me to win sheriff, and then the next one is I go over the entire Bill of Rights, because most people don't understand what the Bill of Rights was intended to be. And I give it my own name and title. It's a list of the untouchables.
I love it.
It's a list of natural rights that government cannot touch. Yeah. They are the untouchables. It's a declaration of rights to all government. These are the fundamental God-given rights that you guys, you legislators, you judges, you governors, you sheriffs and cops and everybody else, these are the rights that you cannot touch and that you must protect at all costs.
Yeah.
And so this is the training I give, and there's six different classes over the course of 6 weeks, and it's the most powerful training in history, in the Constitution, and a Supreme Court case, and the duties of your sheriff that you'll ever see anywhere in the country. It costs $295 to join. to be a part of the class. But let me tell you, it's worth more than that. And people have already been emailing us after the first class and saying how much they love it and that they just can't wait for the next one. And let me tell you, you'll be thoroughly engrossed in this. You will be touched. You will laugh. You will go, gosh, this stuff is great.
Yeah. And one more time.
Go to cspoa.org. Become a part of that.
Yeah.
And make sure I get your email, so everybody email me.
Yes, and later
my
one
email
more time.
Is Sheriff Mack at Hotmail. Sheriff Mack at Hotmail. Email me, and we'll email you back the class particulars.
Okay, and what is your website again?
CSPOA. That's Charlie Sierra Papa Ocean Atom. Charlie Sierra Papa Ocean Atom. CSPOA.org. Mm-hmm. Boy, there's a bunch of good stuff in that too. And like Nori was saying, you can look up these videos. They're all over the internet. They're all over YouTube. You can get a heck of an education just by looking up Sheriff Mack on YouTube.
That sounds good.
Absolutely.
Will you ever run for sheriff again, Richard?
I'm 67 and a half. I remember when I was young, I'd always, I'm 7 and a half, and now that I'm old, I'm doing it again. But I really don't think so. If that's where I thought the good Lord wanted me to, but I'm so busy right now with my teaching job and then training sheriffs all over the country and trying to save our country with this peaceful and effective solution. I just really don't. I think I'm exactly where the Lord wants me.
Yeah. Well, you're probably reaching more people this way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Sheriff Mack, thank you so much. I hope you'll come on again and talk with us as things continue to change so quickly.
Boy, how have they changed just the last 4 months? My God.
Right.
Man, oh man.
Well, thanks for having me. I sure appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm not even the same person I was 4 months ago. How about you?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being with us, and we will like to have you back again maybe a little closer to election. That'd be a good time. So thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
Everybody.
You've been listening to Broadcast Team Alpha.
Broadcast Team Alpha.
Hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. Every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The balance of power is shifting to a new paradigm. Will you be ready? For more information on Broadcast Team Alpha, as well as the hosts Nori Love and Augie Nost, please visit their website at broadcastteamalpha.com. Until next week, remember to keep those minds open while always exploring the endless quantum possibilities.
Broadcast Team Alpha. Over and out.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.